Well, we're going to get started. My name is Beth Ritter-Guth, and I'm the Associate Dean of Online Learning and Educational Technology, which is a very long title, at Northampton Community College. I've been there a little bit over a year, and I come out of the faculty. I taught English for 100 years before going into administration, and I still continue to teach English. But in the teaching of English, I used a lot of different kinds of technologies to teach English. So I used commercial grade video games like Fallout and Grand Theft Auto, Dante's Inferno for the 360, and just sort of in the course of my career, took a lot of blue blazes and used a lot of different kinds of technology and got very interested in Internet of Things, drones, artificial intelligence, and voice technologies like Alexa and Siri and things like that. So when I came to Northampton, I was asked to build a virtual campus. That was my online work. And then I was asked to think big about technology and where we should go as a college for technology. And so I had started right before the season comes for asking for things, where you can ask for things in capital. And so one of my dreams has always been to have a smart apartment, kind of like you see on Mr. Robot, so that we could teach students how to build, break, and defend these new devices that are permeating our lives, right? And so not just from a technology perspective of physically building them, but also thinking about what they do to our psychology, how they are presented ethically, thinking about sort of all of the pieces that go along with this new technology that really, changes daily. New products and things come out daily. So I asked for a smart apartment. In my previous role at my previous college, you would have to ask for something for like 3 years before you actually got it. So I figured, well, I'll start right now and I'll ask, and then 3 years from now they may consider this smart apartment. But to my great surprise, they approved it right away. So we've been building it, and one of the challenges of COVID is that we were building it at the time that COVID hit. So right now it's still in the building process, and I had hoped to take, for this presentation, which I submitted before COVID, I had hoped to take a 3D video for you to take you through a walkthrough of the apartment so that you could see it. But because of COVID, that didn't happen. But I still wanted to share what we're doing, and then hopefully next year come back and give you a virtual tour with goggles so that you can check it out. So hopefully you can see my screen. Does everybody see a screen that says Smart Apartment with the little bubbles on it? So? All right. All right, give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Does everybody see it? Okay, there we go. All right, so this is my information, and my email is down at the bottom. So if and when we go back to school, if you would ever like to come for a tour, you're more than welcome. We'd be happy to host you or your students, and you can come and check out the space. So let's talk a little bit about what this space is and what it does. So the Internet of Things is anything that collects and shares data wirelessly. So anything, that you're inputting either from your phone and you're getting data back from it, anything that shares data wirelessly, and then does something, that's an Internet of Things device. So we call that IoT. And so we live in a connected world, and that means a lot of things. There are safety factors we have to consider. We have to figure out who has access, who can hop on and get access to your information when information is shared wirelessly. When my boys were little, I took them on a dolphin seeking tour, and the marine biologist told my son, she said, anything with teeth will bite you. And even a cat, even if it's your cat, if it's scared or it's hurt, it will bite you. And the same is true of chips. Anything that shares data wirelessly can be hacked. We do
Beth,
a lot to prevent. Yes.
we can't see anything.
You can't see anything?
No, it's a
You
blue
didn't see my
screen.
snazzy slides?
No,
Oh, well, thank you for telling me that, because
you're
I was
welcome.
going on. All right, let me see if I can try this again.
A reshare.
I'm going to reshare it. All right. Good. Well, I see everybody, because once I go into sharing mode, it doesn't let me see you. So, oh, thank you. And I can't see chat. So Thank you. Amy, will you holler out chat for me too when you think? Can you see me now? Do you see my screen? You see pretty
I
slides.
see you. I see you.
Oh, well, that's not as pretty as my
Good to see
slides.
you.
Good to see you too. I'm Beth. It's nice to meet all of you. All right, I'm going to try to share again, but once I share, it doesn't let me see the chat anymore. So it's a little crazy. I'm probably not just not doing something right, but hold on. Let me see. Great. I'm going to share my screen. Keep my chat up. Does that then? Oh, all right. I'm sharing my screen. Here we go. All right. What do you see? Oh, I see people.
Okay, we see it now.
You see it now. Well, let me back up so
Yes.
you can see the crucial, critical information like my email address. So there's my email address and my title and what we're going to talk about right now. Does everybody see that? All right. So when I asked for this room, the way that I defended asking for, $250,000 was I really feel that we have an opportunity to help students navigate this new world that's new to us, but it's not really new to them if they're traditional age. But things like Alexa devices, right? They're fun to use, they're easy to use, students love them, but there are a lot of risks that go along with those kind of devices. And one example is some guy murdered his wife, whose name happened to be Alexa. And when they came to the scene of the crime, they seized the Alexa. And at that time, Amazon wasn't giving data from the Alexas, but they had to. They were ordered to. So they didn't find anything off the Alexa device, but even when you think that your privacy is being protected, it's not because somebody can trump that protection. So all of those issues, how they're hacked, how they're built, what data gets shared, who it's being shared with, and then those are all issues, plus sort of the psychology of thinking about constantly being watched. We are constantly being watched by devices we don't even know exist. So all of those things together made me think about creating this apartment. And at the time, I was a huge fan of the Mr. Robot show, and there was a smart apartment in there, and I thought, wow, like most students don't have the opportunity to go into a space that is entirely run from a phone, right? They may have one or two devices, but they don't actually go into an environment that's entirely operated by their phone. And what are the risks? Like, if your microwave is app driven, can you actually use it with buttons like we do in our houses now, right? What happens if somebody puts a chemical into a diffuser that could kill you? Right. So that was the idea behind the smart apartment. So all of these issues and all of these concepts were sort of put together to think about this space, and that is the space that we're building. And as I mentioned, if you just came in, I put in the proposal for this presentation before COVID hit. So the idea was to give you a 3D tour of the apartment, but it's actually still being built. And everything is just laying there, and it will probably be obsolete by the time we get back there. But we have a few different devices that I'm going to talk about. So, um, as we think about all of the devices that are in the apartment, we think about who makes them. And at the community college level, right, we're preparing students for, electronics degrees and, programming and things like that. So who's building them? Who's looking at the terms of service for the devices? And so we have to think about what skills are needed and how our students can get those skills to be competitive in a workforce that creates and promotes these kind of devices. Engineers, um, interior designers, regular designers, device designers, or the marketing and the sales of folks that sell these devices. So there are all kinds of places where we can impact learning when we talk about building. And then we want to think about people who can break the devices. Who are they? They're hackers, cyber criminals. So we want internet. Can you see, or does it not? Does it trip up when I go from screen to screen? Can everybody still see?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Okay, good. So we want to make sure that we're preparing a workforce of ethical hackers that can go in and break and then fix, or at least inform the end user on how the devices put them at risk. And then our defenders are that same group of people, ethical hackers, folks in law enforcement, folks in legal studies. What happens if your devices get taken? What rights do you have? What did you sign away when you signed the terms of service for that device? So there are all kinds of places where we can impact and help students think about the technology that it's going to become more paramount in their lives, right? So at Northampton, our apartment is entirely powered with an Alexa. It's a smart device. I'm sure all of you are familiar. It's an Amazon Echo, and it controls all of the different things in the room. And so we have a smart fridge that you can check from home to see if somebody goes into the fridge. I get a this was really annoying before COVID, by the way. I get an alert on my phone anytime somebody opens the fridge door. I can look in the fridge at any time and see if I have eggs or whatever. It will tell me if I scan the eggs and I put them in, it'll tell me when they're getting old and I should replace them. Right, so it's smart, but it is a regular fridge. It has a TV screen on it, so I can watch movies off of my fridge if I would want to do that. I can leave notes for other people. I can listen to Spotify, and that's the entire door. So it is a very weird piece of equipment to me because my father was a steel worker, and we had just like the regular fridge that we were lucky that we had. We were so excited when we went from the freezer that was this big to the freezer that was this big. So this device, it's a TV, it's a stereo, it's a phone. You can call people from it. You can look into it. You can tell when people are there. And so when we think about a fridge like that, when we think about people with eating disorders, what does that, how what kind of issues come up if you have somebody who has an eating disorder and is obsessed with food and is constantly looking or constantly tracking, or if you're in an abusive relationship and somebody's food shaming you or something like that. So there are psychological issues, but also that idea of instant gratification, like do I have eggs? In the olden days you'd have to go home and check to see if you had eggs, or call somebody and say, hey, do we have eggs? Do we need anything from the store? Now you can look at your phone, and that can be good and it can be bad. So, it might be good if you're taking care of a senior family member and you want to see what they have in their fridge. And if they ate the dinner that you made for them, you can check to see if they've taken it out of the fridge. That can be a true benefit. So just talking about all of those issues, in addition to talking about how do you make a fridge like that? Like, how is that actually built? And then how do you fix it when it goes wrong? Because the things that are going to go wrong, just like cars, right? We have a 73 Camaro, if the apocalypse ever comes, like, I'm going to be able to drive that because it's not connected to anything. My Jeep, my new Jeep, I'm not going to be able to drive because somebody could hack it and just shut off the engine, right? So, what happens when the screen goes bad? Like, do you have to replace the whole fridge? What if somebody hacks into your fridge and now is watching your family from your fridge? These are all issues. The microwave is Alexa powered, so you tell the microwave that you want to cook something. And it's interesting because it will tell you that the door has not been opened, but you can actually override that. So you could actually blow up somebody's fridge from a remote location. We have 3 smart televisions using 3 different kinds of smart technology, and we're just learning to play with them. I would say that of all the technologies, televisions are probably the place that I'm the weakest. So we're bringing in some other folks to look at the television because, again, you can watch people through televisions. You can listen to them through the clickers, and again, they become cameras into your home. We have a smart bed, so you can lay on it and we'll tell you your weight. It'll tell you your sleep patterns. It can tell you your tossing and turning rate and things like that. So we had just gotten that right before COVID, so we were playing with that. The only thing that we didn't buy for the smart apartment was the smart toilet, and that's because of where the smart apartment is located in our Fowler Family Center, which is on the south side of Bethlehem. It's an old Bethlehem steel um, administrative building, and the walls are super, super thick, and it's hard to reroute plumbing. So we don't have the smart toilet, but the smart toilet would tell us, if you're on drugs or if you are lacking potassium. It's the new hat. If you're familiar with the hat that you used to pee in at the hospital, it's the new hat, and it's all done in there. But you can hack it, right? Because anything with a chip can get hacked. So if you're using a smart toilet in a facility that's helping people, navigate addiction issues, they can be hacked so that they come out clean, and so, there's all those issues to talk about. We have a smart vacuum cleaner, a Roomba vacuum cleaner. So that is operated by the phone, and of course it can be hacked. So you're thinking, well, what damage can a vacuum cleaner do? Well, maybe none, but you could install shanks on it if you wanted to go after a person, right? And you wanted to operate it from remotely. You could operate it so that it could hurt somebody. We have a diffuser, which seems harmless, right? It blows beautiful smells into the air. We have evergreen and roses going on, but you could actually come up with a chemical that's odorless that could kill people, and put that into the diffuser, leave the house, and then operate it by your phone. Just start, and you could kill somebody that way without any evidence, right? And when we think about officers going into a crime scene, are they looking for these things, right? Are you looking at a diffuser thinking, maybe somebody killed him that way, right? So we have the Ring doorbell, which which is very handy because you can see who's at your door at any time, but those can be hacked. And so if I want to case a neighborhood, back in the olden days, I would go door to door pretending to sell something. Now I just have to hop on a stream and go camera to camera to see when you're home and when you're not, and which rooms you occupy, and which ways I can go through your house. The same is true of our action camera. We have an indoor action camera that tells you kind of everything, but that one's visible so that you can see there is a camera, a motion detector camera. We also have decoy cameras. We have 2 up, and we ordered 6 other ones. So one is a picture frame that has a hidden camera in it. So, be careful when your boyfriend gives you a picture and says, put this by your bed, because he could be watching you. We have a smoke detector that isn't a smoke detector. It's actually a camera, and can be viewed from the phone. So those are the things that we've purchased so far. We have more things that we're hoping to purchase, but the challenge will be funding now, because we're all pouring money into other buckets because of COVID. But that's what we have so right now, and we're in the process of installing. So it's been super exciting, and it's been super exciting to talk with some of our partners. So one of the main desires of this room is to partner non-credit to credit. So we offer a lot of different kinds of courses in our non-credit side, and in many ways it's easier to put things into the non-credit bucket because there's less of a process to go through to get them up. But we want to give students the ability to get onto the credit side. So, for example, we offer ethical hacking through the EC Council, and so they get that industry certification, which is what the industry wants. But then that test then counts as credit on the credit side. And really, we want to foster that love of learning and that continuation. So if you really do enjoy ethical hacking and the criminal justice side of it, then maybe your credentials will help lead you into a criminal justice degree path, or into legal studies degree path. I'm very interested in cyber law, so that's kind of where I would go. If you're doing programming, we teach non-credit Python courses, which is usually the language that you use if you're an ethical hacker, one of the languages. And so if you take those classes on the non-credit side, and then you can test out on the credit side and get some credit for that. Right now, we're building up a drone program with Dart drones. So there's a drone business course that we run to kind of get people excited, and then they go into the the drone course to get their certifications, their 107 pilot's license and some other licenses. And then we're partnering that on the side of our business degree so that if you wanted to have a drone business, you would have both the technical skill and the associate's degree in business. And are getting ready to launch Alexa development. So I program for Amazon, and I'll be offering courses on the non-credit side in developing for Alexa, and then again partnering that on the business side with, now you have the technical skill, go and get your business degree so that you can run a business. We have 2 academic partnerships so far, and we're working on some other industry partnerships, but we have a partnership with the University of Tel Aviv, Israel, where our students will hack them and their students will hack us, and the University of Technology in Dublin, Ireland, they'll hack us, we'll hack them from our apartments. And we're now working, right before COVID, we were starting to work with trying to branch out to places like NASA and Tesla and places where our students would be able to get jobs if they had both, if they had skill sets that were robust in both the technical side of the software and the machinery, and then the sort of academic side of business law, psychology, sociology, things like that. So, where did I go? So that's everything that I wanted to tell you about the smart apartment. And now I'm interested in hearing about how you would use the smart apartment. So I can't see you if I'm screen sharing, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can have a conversation. All right, so now I see all of you. Hello, all of you. All right, so let's start off first by typing in chat where you're from, what school you're from, and what you do there, so that I can see chat. Montgomery County. Yay. Amy, did you hear my shout out before as our Gold Star Tech Olympics winner? Next year, you're going to have to come to the smart apartment, because that's actually where those were going to take place this year. There was going to be hello, Deborah. Hello, Nancy Troutman. My fan club is here. Hello, Anne. Another NTC person. Hello, Sandy. Sandy's from my office. I think that's my Sandy.
Yes.
Hello, Sandy. So it's very exciting to have this space, and I'm so fortunate that Northampton saw the vision. And it's a little disheartening because COVID has sort of separated us from that space. I can still see in the room, and nobody's opened the fridge in the last 9 weeks, which is nice because that is really annoying. So would you use a room like this? How would you use a room like this in a discipline like yours? And there's so few of us. I think we can all chat. If you have microphones muted, you can unmute them. We can just have a conversation. How would you use a room like this if you used it? Hi. Amy Van Vark, are you coming to my room when it opens up?
Of course.
There's lots of
I don't know
people
about what was funny about that was the fridge.
The fridge is sketchy. I'm telling you, that fridge is sketchy.
Yeah, but I'm hold on, I'm getting my volume up here. My main concern is security. Of course, teaching paralegals and being a lawyer. Like for instance, I'm hesitant to use Skype. So I'm thinking obviously everything can be hacked. How would I use that? I would probably be afraid of it because of the security.
Right. And that is really the purpose of it. And I think students don't realize when they buy the new and shiny toys, they don't realize that they put themselves at great risk. And nobody reads terms of service either, right? Like
you could promise your firstborn and you don't even know it.
You don't even know it. So I think that even in itself is worth the first activity that we do, because we were building activities to do in the room. And I actually had a Girl Scout troop come in, even though the room wasn't done. I had them come in just to try some things out because it's hard to build that room without an audience. So I had them come in and count the cameras and the microphones. And there were, at that time, and they're not even all installed, there are 34 cameras in that room in all of the different devices. That's 34 different ways people can watch you. That's creepy. Like, and
Yeah,
then
and
people come to my house. Go ahead.
they have to have some sort of psychological thing to it because if you know you're constantly being recorded, constantly, being watched, I mean, how is the behavior different?
Right. And are you always behaving like you're on stage and can't
Right.
switch between being on stage and like, being yourself? I majored in American literature, so I know there's like persona and all that good psychological stuff that I don't remember now. But there's that mind frame, and it's like the selfie culture. Like, you're constantly being watched, you're constantly being filmed, and then what does that do? I mean, it's one thing to teach people how to actually, overcome an IP address or, infiltrate and get the recordings on your phone and have, um, you know, access to your life all the time. There's that piece of it, teaching them how to physically do it, but there's also the end user is the part that I think we miss the boat on. We are not teaching, when you buy that thing that you put in your car so that you get less insurance, what does that say? And the first Internet of Things device that a lot of people have, not everybody, is the Easy Pass. You know, in the beginning, I don't have smart devices in my house. I program for Alexa, and I don't even have an Alexa in my house. I donate them all to the school because I don't want to be listened to and watched. And I don't do anything, but I don't want that in my house. So when the Easy Pass first came out, people said, "I won't take it. I won't have it." I was one of them. And then I accidentally, because I lived in Jersey at the time, I couldn't get over, so I went through the Easy Pass lane because I couldn't move over on this bridge, and I got a ticket anyway. Like I got, like they know who you are and they know where you are anyway. And when we think about like the Equifax hack, like, people have your credit history that you never gave permission for them to have, then they got hacked and had no liability. Right? So it's a very strange world we live in, and there are a lot of issues that sort of go around all of this technology and all of these services that we have. And I think students, and even me, don't realize all of the different risks that we put ourselves into. So Deborah was saying some interesting stuff. Did I sign over personal access to my personal files? That's a great point. Like even now, like when I share my screen, like teaching in Zoom is interesting because like a lot of us will go to Zoom meetings and then check email and do other stuff. Like who knows that? Like who can see that? Who can see what else I'm doing on my machine? You know. Um, oh, that's a good question. Somebody asked, is there a quick summary of basic? Ooh, I go too fast. It goes really far. Ooh, are there basic terms? Where did it go? It was such a good question. Uh, on. Yeah, somebody had a really good question and now I can't find it. Like, are there basic terms? Um, are there quick summaries of basic terms of service to watch out for? That's actually a really good question, and probably a really good thing to do in that room would be to go through like the basic terms of the different devices and to compare maybe how Alexa's terms of service differ from maybe Siri or Google Home. To see what they collect. It's all very difficult. It's all very difficult to understand, right? It's not. I mean, it's written in plain language, but even still, it's hard to read. Um, Zoom is hard because of security. The Zoom bombers that came in. Zoom wasn't. I think Zoom wasn't prepared for the onslaught of everybody using it when COVID hit. Um, that would be great, though. A warning sheet. One of the things that we were building right before COVID is for each piece of equipment. There, we use Roar, and I'll type it out because it's augmented reality. So there is. We didn't get all these done because we stopped working, but there's a little icon that you hold your phone up. There's a phone that goes with the room, so you don't have to use your own phone. You can use our phone for the apartment, and you hover your phone over it, and a video pops out that talks about the security of that piece of equipment. And so we were building those when COVID hit so that you could think about each of the issues that applied to that particular piece of equipment. So for the fridge, like that was the one that we did, all of the different things that can be hacked on that fridge, including the temperature. You can hack the temperature of that fridge and either freeze everybody's stuff or turn it off and make their food rot. So you're mad at your ex-boyfriend because he took some new girl to the beach, so you decide to hack his fridge and rot his food and turn off his freezer. Psychology students could help study technology gap between people who have these devices and don't, why they don't, for example, money or privacy concerns, and really who's the biggest target for hacking too. Like we know in the ethical hacking community that the number one target is an elderly person, and that for financial reasons because they have better credit and they are worth more on the dark web. So, you hit a gold mine if you can get together people over 60 and get their credit, get their social security numbers and things like that. So, but these devices are also very helpful if you're taking care of an elderly person, right? So if you have somebody coming in to take care of somebody, this is a great example. Chris Lynn, who works in the online learning department, he got a nanny cam for his dog sitter. And so he hired a dog sitter. He was paying her like I could be his dog sitter because I think he paid her more than he paid me, whatever it was, $50 a week. And the agreement was the walker was supposed to come in, take Maggie for a walk for a 30-minute walk, come back and feed her. And so he would watch on the nanny cam, and she would come in, feed the dog, let her out, bring her back in, and was there all of 5 minutes. And he fired her. Like he hired another service to walk his dog. So there are benefits to this technology, but I guess the question becomes, in the debate and the interesting conversations that we have with students are, do the benefits outweigh the risks? So do you have any of these devices in your house? Do you have Alexas and why do you have them if you do? Oh, that would be absolutely awesome, Anne, if we had a philosophy class for ethics on this. I think I could maybe convince Harold Weiss to do something because he does like this kind of technology, and maybe Ken Barak, because this is their world, and this is just the beginning of their world, right? And I think back on the technology that existed in the 70s and 80s when I was coming up compared to today. Like my mother never trusted the microwave. She just thought that was going to cause us all kinds of medical problems, and I'm not sure it doesn't. So my mom was all against the microwave, but she really did like the VCR, especially when they could record because she liked all her shows and Perry Mason and all that, and she wanted to save those, right? The dark web is we don't. Yeah, we don't need the CIA anymore. We have Instagram. That's such a good point, Mike. Like we when we do a campaign for ethical hacking, so there are different pieces to ethical hacking, but the first piece is information gathering, and that's called social engineering. And so if I wanted to hack Amy, don't get creeped out, Amy, I won't do this, I promise. If I wanted to hack Amy, I would start with her social media accounts, and then I would go through all of them and get information. And then I would, I'd Google her name. I'd go through. I have some software that I have to find out her legal records and her, housing records, her divorce records, and if she's been arrested and all that. And I gather a profile on her. And then I go through her physical trash, to get credit card information if I want to hack her specifically. A lot of hackers aren't interested in Amy herself. They're interested in 500 Amy's, right? Because they get $37-ish dollars in Bitcoin on the dark web per good per good profile of somebody that they can take credit lines out on. So that's somebody who's going through the mall. Here's my wallet. So in my wallet, there's a metal piece, and the metal piece of my wallet prevents readers from reading my credit card numbers. So when you go to the mall, all I have to do is take a little credit card size thing, stick it in my pocket, and walk up and down the mall, and it will take all of the credit card numbers, all of your 3-digit codes, and your expiration date and your zip code. I can get all of that just from that little reader. And so if you don't have a metal piece in your wallet, you can buy them at Five Below. You can just install it into your wallet, and it prevents them from being able to read your information. The scary world we live in. Oh, can you get them at AAA? Yep, RFID. Thank you, Sandy. I know people say that, Amy. People say, "Well, I'm boring," and that's true. And boring is good because boring means that you have good credit. Boring means that you didn't go out and buy a boat and get it repossessed, so you have good credit, so you are worth a lot. So they don't. There are people, obviously, there are people trying to always, hack Donald Trump. They're always trying to hack, Elizabeth Warren. Like there are targets of high-end targets. The CEO of Apple, there are targets, and that's a certain kind of hacking. But the lucrative kind of hacking for a script kiddie or a new hacker, that's social security numbers and personal data for big groups of people that they can then sell on the dark web so that people can take lines of credit out. Because and the reason that senior citizens are a good target for that is because senior citizens don't know that their credit is being used. And then, if they're older, the older the better. So if you're in your late 90s and I take out a line of credit in your name, the chances are before they find me, that person's going to pass, and then there's no liability anymore, right? And they might still try to find it, the company, but that's why they target the seniors. And that's why seniors are targets for phishing campaigns, phone campaigns, and email campaigns, and bait clicking and things like that. Yes. But business students, somebody's marketing them, right? We all bought Alexa because they have an excellent marketing team. Alexa beats out, Apple and Google, hands down. People go for the Amazon products before they go for the other products for established computers. So, there's marketing, there's, design, even just designing how devices look and how they feel in your house. There's that piece of it. There are interior designers that could be experts in designing smart homes. When you see those high-end homes that are all like the blinds and the thermostat and everything else is controlled through an app, that whole look and feel is designed by somebody. Hotels, new hotels that are, more modern. Marriott has robots in their high-end hotels that greet you when you arrive, and and it's cute, and you say hello, but that means there's a robot there gathering your information, and you are happily giving it to it, and you're not thinking that the next guy that comes can just, slip something in there, and even something as simple as USB drives, those they look innocent. Oh, can I just print out my paper? That could be a key loader, what we call a rubber ducky, and that you put it in the computer. It executes some malicious collection kind of software on your computer to collect your keystrokes, collect your information, and then report back. Now the hacks are more sophisticated that you don't sometimes need physical access anymore because everything's in the cloud. But in the olden days, you would actually have to get physical access, and that was one way you would do it, through USBs and innocent. Can I just print this out? Can you print this? I'll send this to you by email. Can you just print it out? And then something's attached to the email. So I really appreciate that all of you came to my session, and my hope was to show you in 3D. So next year the room will be done, I hope, and so I'll be able to take you. The hope is to come to Bucks with our headsets so that you could actually go in the room in 3D. So our next step for that space is to create 3D images for it, because we need that for our partners in Dublin and Israel, and whoever else we become friends with. And so that you would be able to experience the apartment yourselves, and kind of walk around virtually in the space and count the cameras, and think about how you might use a space like that in your class. And so I'm very excited to get back to school so that I can continue working on the room. A little nervous that things are going to be outdated by the time we get back. Ole will be the last of the team at Northampton to go back whenever we go back. So, we're last on the list. So I'm so glad that I made you paranoid, but do remember that, I'm a drone pilot, and I was just cleared to be a disaster response volunteer for the Red Cross. And what I want to do is, so last year or 2 years ago, when Puerto Rico was hit so badly with natural disasters, and like 4 different ones hit, the only way that they could deliver supplies was with a drone. the only way they could get things in with the drop drones. And so there's tremendous good that can happen with all of these devices. But that same 50-pound payload drone can also drop poison, right? So there has to be an army of good people who are out there knowing how these devices can be used for good, and then, promoting that goodness and promoting ethics and responsible use, and people who know what the risks are so they can share those risks with other people and help seniors know not to click on X, or help seniors know how to check their credit. All of those different pieces. And I feel as educators, we have that obligation to help our students learn, and our community learn, that the smart apartments and our non-credit space, and will be used on both the credit and non-credit sides. So, and I think that bridge, even that bridge in higher ed, is kind of new. We've not often connected those two spaces. They've kind of been separate kingdoms. So we'll see how that work goes. Really, Mike, we need to be friends. I feel like I couldn't even figure out 2 ways to kill somebody with a spoon. My first teaching job was in a prison. I taught at Lehigh County Prison while I was waiting to get my first real job, right out of grad school. So what's one way you could kill somebody with a spoon? I don't even know one way. Mike, you have to tell us now.
Well, we certainly don't have time. I guess the whole point of that comment was that we all live in a risky life, no matter from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed. And whether it's from physical objects or whether it's from digital objects, the risk is always around us. Security is an illusion, and it's simply a matter of not being the low-hanging fruit.
Yep, that's a really, really good point. And you have, I think I've seen that episode of Law and Order. There are different conferences that you go to if you're into ethical hacking, and this guy hacked a heart monitor, a pacemaker. You can actually blow up a pacemaker in somebody's heart. It's terrifying. Like, that's terrifying that you could do that, right? But insulin pumps can be hacked. There are so many devices that we don't, and a lot get pushed to market before security is even taken into account. But Mike has a really good point, is that you can think about all of the different security aspects and address them, but a really good hacker is going to think of a new way, because that's what a hacker is going to do. So if I'm trying to get everybody who's diabetic, and if I want to hurt that population, and I'm going to go after a particular brand of pump, like the installed pumps, and I want to do that, then I'm going to figure out a way to do it, whether or not there's a known hack for it or not. And sort of in that community, the crazier the hack, if I can hack a Mac machine, that shows you my age, an ATM machine, if I can hack that on stage for everybody, like, then my next hack has to be better than that and bigger than that. So, their job is to find ways around everything. And then, what do we do to be safe? What do we do ourselves? How do we help students be safe? Lots of issues, lots of interesting kind of things. In addition to, how do you build them? Like, how do you actually build them? What kind of electronic skills do you need? Who puts the TV in the fridge? And then who maintains that? Who fixes it when it breaks? So anyway, my time is up. I only have a minute. Thank you so much for coming to my presentation.